Hello, Dave with Appliance Doctors. Just going over one big thing that I have seen a lot lately is front load washers, Whirlpools, Maytags coming up with an F71 code. Now you'll have a lot of technicians coming out sometimes getting pretty frustrated with this F71 and the customer getting even more frustrated. Now F71 means one thing: motor control board. Every single time, that's what an F71 is. F71 will give you a lot of different things. You get the code come up, and then sometimes next time you go to use the machine, it just does this. Every time you hit the start button, you hear, hopefully you can hear that, just a couple beeps that happen every time you hit the start, and that's it. Doesn't really want to do anything for you. This is actually a pretty easy repair. It's just replacing that motor control unit, and I will go through that with you on the next frame here. Okay, first thing we got to do is unplug the machine. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, the machine is unplugged. Now there's going to be some screws on the very bottom of this panel here. Now sometimes they're a little tricky to get to. You might have to either have a very long extension, something kind of like this. This particular washer has a Torx. I believe this is a T20, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what this is. However, now what you want to do is get that panel off. So you might have to jack this up. Sometimes what I do is I take a piece of 2x4, just kind of lift this up and put a 2x4 underneath there. Because this is stacked, that's going to be hard for me to do. So I had to go ahead and get this long extension here. So we'll take off those screws now. Now, this here is the motor control unit. I'm just going to make sure that you can see this on the camera here. Okay, so this guy right here, this is your motor control unit. This is what needs to be replaced. Now, if you look, there is a service manual right here, located on this side, and in a little plastic bag. I could take this out and it'll tell me what an F71 is. Now, the problem with that's going to tell me that the F71 code could mean a whole bunch of things. It could be the main control board, it can be the interface board, it can be a wire harness. It just covers everything. By the time you do everything in that service manual, you basically bought a new machine and then some. So, I'm going to save you a lot of headache and trouble. Don't listen to anybody or anything, because I can guarantee you, without a doubt, it's this motor control unit. Now, this thing can be pretty pricey. I've seen this go all the way up to $300. So, it is a very expensive part. However, if you're doing it yourself, which is very simple, it's only going to cost you the part, of course, so not going to be a big deal. There's a little door that opens, and it's kind of hard to show you this, but once you get in here, you can kind of see what's going on. It's pretty self-explanatory. There are also some wires in here that will only go back on one way. You really can't screw them up unless you're really forcing them. So just be careful when you put them back in. And I believe there is, let's count them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 wires, including a ground wire. There's also going to be a clip on the side you're going to have to cut off with the side cutters. That's going to be right here, mounted to the board. And then there's going to be a little flip-up thing right here that you can just take your finger with. Let me see if I can get that in there a little better here. But right here, I don't know if I'm catching that or not here. But you can see it right here where my finger is. This is a tab that you're going to lift up on your finger, and then this is just going to pull out. So if I lift that up, and then slide it forward. It's a little tricky with just using your fingers sometimes. You might have to get a regular screwdriver. But you can see I just flip that forward, and then the whole thing just comes out. And it's pretty much that simple. And I'm just going to pop this back in now. Slide it back. And sometimes you hear a click, sometimes you don't. Not a big deal, just as long as it's pushed all the way back and you kind of push that tab back in, it'll be fine. And then hook up your connections, close that door, and it is that simple. So there you go, for anywhere from about $200 to $300 for that part. It is pricey. However, the cost of the new machine is much more expensive. And not only that, the reward of being able to fix something like this yourself is pretty big. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I know for a fact, personally, I've gone on calls where technicians have come out and they just, beside themselves, they're not sure what the F71 is. Because like I said, the manufacturer and the service manual are going to tell the technician that it could be numerous things. But it's really only one thing that does fail. I have never seen anything else fail on that F71 code. There's also a different variation of the F71 code depending on the machine that you have. But if you are getting that when you go to start it and you're getting those beeps associated with an F71 code, it's going to be the motor control unit.